This is the Power Element Podcast, episode 59. My name is Paul. I produce the podcast. I am a journeyman lineman by trade. Today, I step in as host. Episode you listen to today was recorded live on site at DragonWear in Seattle. This episode features Alyx and Steve. Alyx founded / is the CEO of DragonWear. Steve serves as the president of DragonWear. I had a great time as a guest at DragonWear. Incredible team. All starts with Alyx and Steve. Incredible leadership and vision. Just overall, top to bottom, great company. Thank you guys for having me. All right, we'll get to the show, but first let me highlight, you guessed it, DragonWear. New from DragonWear, our Pro Dry Tech collection now includes the Cat 2 high-vis yellow shirt and long sleeve. Same features, new color. Power Element listeners, today is the last day you're going to get 20% off with the code DWX Power Element Pod 20 at DragonWear.com. Once again, that was DWX Power Element Pod 20. When you go to DragonWear.com, I will put that code in the show notes. All right, hot tip. Get to DragonWear.com. Put the socks in the cart. Start with the socks. Go from there. Sky's the limit. Load up the cart. Use the code. Easy. All right. Special thank you to High Voltage Commando, High Voltage Industries, and Lima Mama. All right, let's get to the show. Power Element Podcast, episode 59. Enjoy the show. Great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team of people. That's from Steve Jobs. Might have heard of him. All right, we are live in Seattle, DragonWear studio, showroom / showroom. So, special guest, Alyx and Steve, DragonWear. Steve being the president, Alyx founder, CEO. Did I get that right? Cool. If we can get a quick introduction to you guys, Steve.
Sure, Steve Misano, president of True North DragonWear. Been here 21 years working with Alyx.
Cool.
Been a fun journey.
And Alyx Fier, I am the founder of True North / DragonWear, and been here since day one.
Yeah, perfect. And if you can, maybe a little bit of insight on your day-to-day role, what that looks like. I know we're kind of speeding up, but I think there's some value in there.
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly changed over the last 21 years. So I spend a lot more time working on the kind of the long-term strategy of the company. But as we'll talk a little bit later, my passion lies in gear and clothing. So I still have a heavy involvement in DragonWear, material design, garment design, etc. So
Perfect. Alyx, what you got?
Well, my day-to-day is now more strategic. I'm still involved in product design, but trying to steer the company from more the 30,000-foot level, being the person who's not so lost in the weeds that can't see the whole picture and anticipate some of the long-range issues that we might need to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can, Alyx, you being the founder, is anything you can kind of talk about as far as the origin of True North leading into DragonWear, I guess, starting from day zero?
Yeah, so the impetus for starting the company was wanting to create a product and a brand that would allow me to have independence and eventually raise a family. I mean, that was like, sort of the real long-range goal, but what really started it was a backpacking trip in Yosemite, and I loved using these fanny packs for day hiking, and the one that I had was bouncing around all over the place, and I had the idea of attaching some suspenders to it to stop it from bouncing around. And I got home and tried that on with some clip-on suspenders and realized that it was a huge advantage in how it worked. And then taught myself pack design and was able to get a patent on that design and went into the recreational pack market with it. And it was really successful. We were in REI, distributed internationally. And from almost day one, I was getting contacted by wildland firefighters that were using our recreation packs, and they said, "God, we love the suspension, similar to what we use, but it's so much more comfortable. Would you consider making a wildland fire pack version?" And I've always believed that I can be successful by focusing on one thing, and then if I try to do a lot of different things at the same time, I'll fail at all of them. And so I kept saying no as I was trying to grow the recreational pack market. But after about 5 years, I could see that we were going to have a hard time succeeding in the recreation market because we just didn't have the scale. And I got another call from a wildland firefighter and asked them what they needed. And they explained wildland firefighting, what the packs had to do. And so I designed a couple of packs from scratch just for wildland firefighters. And that was really the pivot going from the recreational pack market into wildland fire. And it's been a really interesting journey.
So can you take us back, because you mentioned it was a hobby that you were hiking or whatever that looks like. And what was your profession at that time? Because it sounded like you said you taught yourself how to sew, fabricate. I'm not quite sure the word. Yeah.
So I was working as a carpenter, doing residential remodel, building maintenance, and I had a carriage house, big garage behind the house I was living in, and used that for my workshop. And so my day job was working as a carpenter, and then at night I started out by just taking all the packs I had and sort of reverse engineering them, figuring out how packs were made, and then eventually took one apart and sewed it back together again. And that was sort of my workshop for learning how to design a pack. And so I'd come home from work, have dinner, go into my workshop, work until midnight, wake up in the morning, go back to work, and it took about 6 months of doing that before I created my first pack designs that I could give to people to field test for me and then eventually put into production and launch the brand.
So you think that background of being a carpenter, of visionary, a builder, constructing at some degree kind of helped you facilitate that vision with these packs? And I'm assuming that when you're packed, those the competitors' brands or the brands that you were using as a hobby, they facilitated the need of just packing out or just servicing the things that you would need. But you seeing that gap where you didn't want it bouncing around, you saw that there was a better opportunity to gain some more value in that pack, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The first part of your question, I definitely think that my work as a carpenter, knowing how to measure, how to cut, and there's a lot of visualizing things in 3 dimension that go into designing and building things. And so I think that was really formative in my skill set that I was then able to apply to pack design. I've also just always had an ability to visualize things in my head, kind of like mental AutoCAD. I can actually visualize something in 3 dimensions and turn it around and look at it from different angles. So I was able to do a lot of design work in my head and figure out how all the different parts of the pack would go together before I sat down with a pencil and paper and started sketching out the actual patterns. And in terms of the functionality, also that background as a carpenter, I wasn't until several months after I was really working on the new pack design that I realized that the idea of attaching the suspenders to the pack came from my work as a carpenter and the suspenders that I have on my tool belt.
Absolutely. I can see it right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the breakthrough was realizing that attaching them to the outside of the bag as opposed to next to the body trapped the load and made it much more stable. And the increased comfort and functionality of that design made it so I could get a lot more enjoyment out of my outdoor pursuits, whether I was trail running or mountain biking or skiing. the load would just stay right next to my body and not bounce around. And that's what everybody else responded to as well, is that added functionality and comfort.
During those carriage house days, and you're just pretty much as a hobby, it sounds like, or just a passion side project, was there any self-doubt? Did you ever try to talk yourself out of it? Or was there criticism from friends and family of your time valuing into something that you're just tinkering out in the garage?
Oh, I think I got a lot of encouragement and support from friends and family. There were a lot of times not in the creating, the early stage creating the product and getting it out to market. That was exciting, and it was fun and engaging, and learning new things is always exciting, and engaging with new people and seeing their reaction to the design and getting their feedback. It was when I got into actually running it as a business, having to have the product made, having it on the shelf, working with customers, and as a one-man band, I'm doing everything. And the part that was the most challenging, and it is for every new business entrepreneur, is the financial side of it. And it wasn't until probably a year or two into running the business that I realized that I was actually a bank in disguise. And I was loaning my customers money, and they would pay me back in 30 to 45 days. But the more successful I became meant I had to have more money to loan to them. And that's when it becomes really stressful. And there were definitely times when I got frustrated, depressed about how hard it was. And I can remember sitting there in my office and just wondering if it was really worth it and if I had what it would take to become successful. And at those times, I would say to myself, you're going through a really hard time right now, and you're sad, you're depressed. Don't make any big decisions while you're feeling this way. Give it a little bit of time. And then, a day or two later, I would feel more resolved, more hopeful, and I would just gauge my progress, and was I growing? Was I doing better? Was I becoming more successful? Even though it was not like leaps and bounds. And as long as I could see potential, I thought it was worth continuing. And there were a lot of those times over the years. I've been doing this for over 30 years. And business is hard. And there were a lot of inflection points where I wasn't sure I was going to make it, and would just evaluate, is there potential? Or do we really have something here? Can we continue to grow this? And as long as I could see that potential, I would keep going.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And just that resilience, I think every entrepreneur or creator in that sense has that decision to make. Do I cut my ties? Do I stay in the carriage house garage, or do I make the shift to this beautiful new headquarters that you guys call home, that you guys were grateful to open up and give me the tour, and it's just blowing away. So beautiful story. I kind of want to shift to Steve, get you caught up to speed, if you can kind of fill us in. Alyx did talk about a bank, and from what I understand, you left a bank in the East Coast and kind of packed up.
Yeah. I fresh out of college, I graduated in '92. Gosh, it was a long time ago. And economy was really bad at the time, and I was trying to figure out I need to get a job. And I had a girlfriend that got me an interview at a bank, and it turned out to be an amazing experience. Really entrepreneurial young bank. Got a lot of opportunities as a 21-year-old to work with customers and lend money and do those things. And about 5 years in, I had the unique experience to start up the insurance division, be part of that team. And then I spent the next 5 years there starting up different product lines within there. And that's where I really kind of recognized my desire to do entrepreneurial things and how much I loved working with small teams and trying to build something. And so, yeah, I did that for about another 5 years. But then I kind of realized that this was not was not my happy place.
Hang on, Steve. There's I think banks and insurance is risk adverse, and then when you talk about entrepreneurship, ownership, it's all risk. Like that doesn't really correlate. I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I got really actually I had a great lending job, and I got really good at understanding risk.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I was trusted as I think I was 23 years old, and I was lending money every day to customers, and one of the things that I've realized about it was, if you can understand it, then it's not quite as risky, right? Like learn about it. And one of the great things about the company was they really believed in growing all of the employees, and I had a psychology degree, so no business background whatsoever.
Wow.
And but they agreed to pay for my MBA, and so I worked full time, went to school. Got my MBA, and really that again, kind of piecing together the work experience with kind of this theoretical stuff, really got me to a point where I realized, like, hey, I really love this. I love the business side of this, and I really love working with people and trying to build teams, and it was a really great time. But again, I was part of a 20,000 person company.
Wow.
And that really wasn't my speed. And financial service, there was no real passion there. And I had spent any time I had any money to rub together to go out and go on vacation, I would always come out west. I had a good buddy, Harvey, and we'd take our vacation every September, October, and go somewhere and do hiking and backpack. And I came out to Washington in '98 and absolutely fell in love with the place. And I thought, like, this is where I want to be. We actually went back, and I was talking to Harvey about just quitting the bank and moving out there, and would he go with me? And it just happened to be that I got promoted to a manager for the first time. The bank agreed to pay for my MBA, and I met my wife, who I've been married to for over 25 years now. So kind of went, slow down, dude. You got some pretty good things going here, and stick around a while. So
no, that's cool.
It took me.
Where would that relationship? Where'd you guys tie in? Where's this kind of connection happen?
Yeah, so summer 2002. I won some money with the bank to go on vacation, and my wife had been stationed in Keflavik, Iceland, when she was in the Navy.
Nice.
And she hadn't been back in a bunch of years. And I said, I'd love to go see Iceland and do some hiking, and let's go. And we're going for a walk on the beach one day, and we hiked up onto this little peak, and we're looking down, and she was like, I forgot how much I missed living by the water and the mountains. We were living in Delaware at the time. And I kind of hit that moment where I was like, you know what, sweetie, I love you and I love Iceland, but I don't think I want to come here, but I do know of a place. And I knew it was Seattle. So we flew back. I put her on a plane, I think a week later, to come out to Seattle and just check it out. I was like, just go check it out and go back to work. And she was here a couple of days and just fell in love with the area. So we sold everything, packed up our Subaru Forester, got our little yellow lab puppy in the car, and we drove across the country and just kind of
not knowing anyone.
Yeah, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job, just.
Wow.
It was a total but it was that right moment in life where, I was 33 years old. I had some good work experience. I knew that this path was not the path for me long term, and it was like, hey, let's reset and try again. And I really came out here for the outdoor experience, just to do a lot of scuba diving, a lot of running, a lot of backpacking. So so we crossed paths because when I got out here, I thought, what have I really learned? I love the entrepreneurial piece. I love building things. Building business, but at the same time, I want to do something I care about and I'm passionate about. And being that I've spent so much time in the outdoors, in the woods, it's really that's where I like to be. I thought, hey, maybe I can find a job doing that. And I was fortunate enough that Alyx was at the time posted a job on the Outdoor Industry Association website, which I was just trolling every day to try to find something.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I applied for the job, and he was one of the few people that actually responded to me. It was a rejection, but he actually took the time to write me a really thoughtful email.
Well, hang on, he rejected you the first time.
First time, yeah.
Yeah, Steve sent in his application, and I responded to it and said, hey, thanks for applying for the job, but I'm looking for someone with industry experience. And Steve, this is all through email. Steve emailed back and said, I've hired and fired literally hundreds of people in my career, and I've found that aptitude is a far greater indicator of success than having a particular skill set, unless it happens to be something like brain surgery. And I responded to him and said, yeah, that actually makes sense to me. I want you to come in for an interview.
Wow, that gave me chills. Like just that, like that's life.
Yeah.
Like you respectfully decline his application, and you say, "Let me change your perspective. Let me give you a little more insight about who I am." And you, being the visionary that you are, the creative, you're like, "Okay, let's do it." And we're gonna fast forward to now. Like this culture that you guys still implement, like it's still here. Like it's still, I can definitely see the progression. But I think the values that you guys had it just upon the initial conversation through email, like it's still who you guys are now today. So I think that's beautiful. Real quick, Steve, I want to ask you is, do you think you still kind of leverage those experiences in bank and insurance into your position now? Is there anything that you take from what you did into having success now?
Yeah, absolutely. There are things every day. The company was a very values-driven company. We knew who we were. We knew what we were good at. We knew what was important. We made decisions based on our personal and core values. That definitely was a piece of it. And then, and I got a ton of experience. I mean, I got to start up 5 or 6 different product lines there. It was a perfect entrepreneurial experience because if it failed, I still had a job.
Yeah.
Because it was this big, multi-billion-dollar company. But yeah, so I still use that experience. So.
That's awesome. And then Alyx, once you get Steve on board, you guys immediately have success, right? I mean, things are easy. So can you walk us through that easy part of the transition?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It's Steve had came to work with his magic wand, and it's just been easy street from then on out. Living the dream.
Yeah, Paul, we should just divert a little bit to the space we're in at the time.
Please do. Yeah. If you can't tell, that's sarcastic because I know there's more to the story. But yeah, please do.
Yeah. So where we were at that point was actually when I was going to apply for this job before we had that email exchange. I was back in the early 2003, so back in the MapQuest days when MapQuest you printed out the map and it was usually wrong anyway. But I remember I was like, I want this job. I'm driving down. I drove down to South Seattle. I pulled by this.
You were going to drop off your resume.
Yeah, drop off my resume. It was my whole plan. Go past this do-it-yourself car wash, turn around, and I see this dilapidated building with bullet holes in the front. There's a homeless guy sleeping under a rhododendron, and I was like, oh, man, MapQuest is wrong again. And I drove home because I was like, this can't be a place of business. Yeah. Then we had that email exchange, and we talked about directions, and I'm driving in past that car wash, and I'm like, holy moly.
It was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Oh, my God. This place, we had a delivery driver come to drop off some product, and we get a call from him, and he goes, all right, so I'm outside this abandoned warehouse. Where are you guys? We're inside the abandoned warehouse.
Come on, man. Oh, this is great. In this warehouse, is there still this Goodwill sewing machine? And what's going on in this warehouse here?
Well, this is, I started out with the sewing machine that I had got at the Goodwill when I was making my first prototypes.
And you taught yourself how to use a sewing machine, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had the Goodwill sewing machine and used that to make the initial prototypes. It was slow going because it wasn't really built for the heavy materials, but I could turn the crank by hand when I really needed extra power and made it work. But eventually got industrial sewing machines that were more suited to the work that I was doing. And most of our production has been outsourced. So this was just design, prototyping, warehouse, and the office staff was inside the building.
And we were really tiny at this time. It was me, Alyx, part-time bookkeeper, and a part-time warehouse person. So we're just...
And Steve, at this point, you're all in this new company and in a quote unquote abandoned warehouse. Like this is your new vision, this is your new baby, and this is a sell to your wife. Like, hey, this is how I'm going to provide.
Yeah, I didn't let her come down to see the building. It's good. It was good that we lived about half an hour away.
That's good.
But no, she knew how passionate I was about it, and she's always been super supportive. And Alyx and I had an immediate connection in terms of working together. When we finally did meet after that email exchange, we went to a coffee shop, and I thought it'd be like a 30-minute interview. We talked for 3-4 hours, and so yeah, I was all in from that moment on, and yeah.
And at this point, it's just wildland packs, right? Or
yeah, and it was the beginning of the transition from recreation to wildland.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a tough time. Alyx had designed 3 packs, 2 radio harnesses, and a duffel bag. And really, the only reason we were in business was because Alyx was doing a bunch of design work for Seattle Lighthouse of the Blind and a lot of work for the U.S. military.
I want to talk on that real quick, but I have a question I think that's kind of relevant to where we're at is, and you just kind of went over it, so it brought it to mind. But after that initial pack, there's got to feel if there's a feeling of success, like I got it, I nailed it, and then you were like, okay, now what? Now how do you create that next thing? Like where you at? Like that's part of the process too.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be a one hit wonder, right? One hit pack.
Right. So it went from the first pack, and actually I launched with 2 or 3 pack designs.
Oh, good.
And then started doing the outdoor retailer show. And the first product, that pack, was based on a need I had that I couldn't find, wasn't being met. But everything since then has been through conversations with people saying, God, you know what I'd really like is, and being able to create a product that meets their need. And so from those first 3 packs, I designed a bunch of, like, I think the next product was a zippered stuff sack, the gearbox, that we made in a bunch of different sizes and colors, and a lot of other accessories, and then larger packs. And from the beginning, I was always doing OEM. There were people coming to me saying, hey, could you design and make this for me? So that's always been part of our business as well.
No, that's awesome. And you mentioned Lighthouse LeBlanc. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's a nonprofit in the area, and they employ, actually it's a national group, but there's a local one here, and they employ blind labor. And we were fortunate enough that they hired Alyx to do a bunch of design work for hydration packs for the U.S. military. And so they actually had a machine shop to do all of the reservoir building, and we did the pack design. And it was a great relationship, and it was really what really provided the cash flow for us to operate at that time. 85% of our business my first year was that one customer. Wow. Which is, super, when you're talking about risk, that's a super high risk situation if things change. So we recognized, hey, we're really fortunate we have this amazing customer, but we better move quick, because if something changes, we'll be shutting the doors.
Is this still a partnership you have today?
No longer. No, they ended up getting out of that piece of the business, but it was probably about a 10-year relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really good relationship.
Yeah,
that's cool. And you guys have always been committed to local, or just kind of that homegrown growth. So yeah, that's cool. And I kind of want to highlight, you guys have this like a little family aspect, and you kind of keep things going. How important that is to you. And I want to mention that the first time I met Steve, it was at a rodeo, and Steve was manning a booth. I believe Scott was able to make it, so Steve filled in, and here's the president of DragonWear just manning the booth and being that point of contact over there. So that was neat. And I think that shows to who you guys are. I think each of you stepped up in the podcast and getting hands on. So I mean, the culture is runs deep here.
Yeah, it's a big piece of who we are. And as Alyx said, he's only ever designed one product for himself. Everything else is for the customer. And there's no better way to understand the customer and get to know them and solve their problems, or have them trust you enough in order to share what their problems are, than to just get out and be with them and become part of the community. And that's just always been a big piece of who we are. And I think that's a big reason we've gotten as far as we have. And that'll never change. That's just, I think that's just who we are as people is, if we're gonna be part of a community, let's be part of a community, and let's really dive all in and figure out how we can contribute to it.
How have you managed to go ahead, Alyx? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, when I was, I don't do trade shows much anymore, but sure, I did for a long time. And when customers would come in and be telling me how much they loved a particular product and how passionate they were about it, and I'd always thank them for that and for liking our products, but I'd always ask them, but what is there that you need that you can't find? Or you use this product in the field every day. You're the expert user. How could we improve this product? Even if it's like adding a snap or moving a piece of webbing over an inch. So just always hungry for that input from the end users who are the experts, and it can really tell us how to make a better product, how to improve their experience.
That's great. I mean, and that's who you guys are, and that's core values. But how have you been able to keep that momentum of culture, user-based feedback throughout the years and throughout the positions? Every person I work with at DragonWear, it's always been the same thing. How can we help? What feedback do you have? I get to work with a marketing team a lot. Same stuff. It's always organized and fluid. How have you been able to sustain that? That's not easy.
No, I guess it's a hard question for me to answer. I guess it's just I think it's it's who we are, and when Alyx and I hire people, we're looking for people that share those same values, right? And that's one thing that I've in terms of the company, we spend so much of our lives working, right? And so one of the pieces that we've always strived to do is to find people that share the same values and see meaning in what we're doing and want to be a part of that. And I think it's just, again, it's who we are. And I don't think people that aren't motivated by that intrinsically love serving others and love doing that piece, they end up opting out.
Al?
And part of my guiding philosophy has always been that if you treat people like adults, they'll act like adults. And they'll be responsible, self-motivated, take responsibility for when things aren't working. And one of the things that I've always tried to instill is we all make mistakes, and that's fine. And the most important thing is if something happens, tell everybody else immediately, and then we can all work on the solution together. And it's only a problem if you keep it to yourself.
Wow, these are systems and procedures that we operate with in the line industry as far as that issue on the job, a hazard that's been seen or unforeseen, that if you share it with the community, we all learn from it. So, like you said, it's people that are intrinsically rooted in the same beliefs that you are. It makes that process a little bit better. Yeah. If you can't take me back to 1997, you had to change the company name and the brand market. Where would that come from? What was going on there?
The company originally was called Treknology because I thought I was going to be making more travel-related products. And a large bicycle company took exception with us using the word Trek in our name. And we had filed for a trademark, and they opposed the trademark registration. And I couldn't afford an attorney, so I actually acted as my own trademark attorney for a couple of years and was writing the legal briefs and holding them off with one hand while I was scratching my head with the other hand trying to come up with a new name that I could transition to. Because every trademark attorney I talked to said, you're never going to win this case.
Wow.
So it was just a stalling action. And eventually I came up with the name True North and settled with the bicycle company and changed the name to True North. And in hindsight, it was actually a good thing because the name True North is just so much better than Treknology. And I learned an incredible amount about trademark law at the same time, which has held me in good stead over the years as we've moved forward.
What does True North mean to you? What's that name mean to you, though, now?
Well, in the outdoors, when you're using a map to guide yourself through the wilderness, there is magnetic north, which is what your compass points to, and there's true north. And to be able to successfully navigate, you have to know the difference between true north and magnetic north. And true north is the direction you actually want to be heading. So to me, it speaks to wilderness, which is one of the places that I'm really passionate about being, and it also speaks to having direction in life.
So you can utilize that professionally and personally, just that metaphor, right?
Yep.
That's good. All right, 2004, you had a decision to stop selling directly, and then you went to sell through distributors. Well, what does that come along? What does that take place?
It was because we were mostly doing wildland packs, and in that market there were a lot of smaller pack companies like ourselves that were selling through distributors, but they were also selling direct. And when a big bid came along for several hundred packs from a customer, these small outfits, pack manufacturers, would take the business directly because they would get the full margin, and it was really detrimental to the distributors, and they didn't trust a lot of these small pack companies. Like, we go out there, we do all the work to get the sale, and then you steal it from us. And we decided that in order to really build our relationship with these important dealers, we needed to stop selling direct so that they knew we would never try to undercut them, and they could totally trust us, and we would have a true partnership.
Absolutely. Alyx, I'm going to ask for an on-air adjustment. If you can grab the bottom of your mic and just kind of angle it down. There it is.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, 2005, 2006, you moved from packs and gear to apparel. What was that like? What was the need there?
That was driven by a customer. We had a fantastic wildland dealer in Colorado who saw a need for flame-resistant fleece, and he didn't have a source for it. And so he called me and said, "Hey, I love working with you guys. Would you consider making a fleece FR fleece jacket?" And so I went and talked to Alyx. I'm like, "Hey, Alyx, Jim's a great customer. He says there's a need here. What do you think?" And yeah.
So we were always looking for opportunities, and so I grabbed one of my fleece jackets. And living in Seattle, we were really fortunate that for a long time this has been the capital for outdoor product design and manufacturing. And I found a company here in Seattle that specialized in sewing fleece garments, and I did the research to find the FR fleece fabric, and I took the garment down to the sewer and said, "How much would it cost to cut and sew a jacket like this?" And she gave me a price, and I figured out the cost of all the materials and what our markup had to be profitable. And I knew what the competitors were selling their jackets for, and I said to Steve, "Yeah, we can do this. We can sell it at wholesale," which is what the customer needs, and still make a reasonable profit, and let's give it a try.
Alex, but I mean, there has to be some doubt because as far as the pack and the gear, yeah, you are a user, but you're getting into FR. This is uncharted waters for you. How do you have that confidence to make that decision? Be like, okay, let's undertake it.
Well, and we never made apparel before either.
Sure, absolutely.
So totally new market. I think it was just at that point, having designed a lot of product and been involved in product development, I had the confidence of, if I can source the materials and I can find a really qualified vendor to sew the product for me, that we can launch a successful product.
So maybe those habits and that pattern of success from the gear and pack could see you through this apparel.
Yeah, and the experience that I had gained.
Cool, absolutely. And you mentioned fleece in 2006. That was the Dragon Fur. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the first garment, Dragon Fur. That's where the brand was born. And we launched with the Alpha jacket just over 20 years ago. And then we made the double shot hat, which is still here. And that was really because Alyx took a look at the markers and went, "We're throwing a lot of money in the garbage. What can we make out of this?" And we set up our first hat. So it was really designed for wildland firefighting. And that's who we sold to exclusively until probably around 2006, somewhere around there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see the need now that as I come to visit Seattle and it's 60 degrees in July and I'm having a great time in this weather. So appreciate it. But yeah, California in the valley and the desert, it's a little, the Project Tech serves a little better.
Yeah. So you talked to Ken last night at dinner. He wore his fleece jacket for 10 months of the year. That's Seattle weather. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool.
We know our fleece.
And for wildland firefighters, it's because they'll be up in the mountains fighting a fire in the summertime. But if you're up at 7,000 feet, it gets cold at night. That's why they needed the fleece.
And fleece is a natural fiber. It's right, or
no, it's synthetic.
That's okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll let you guys be the experts. But but there's a lot of benefits. I mean, just the warmth. It's very lightweight, very pliable. Once again, I'm out of my skis.
Yeah,
here,
no, you're right on. That warmth to weight ratio was really good. It's super lightweight, and and we were able to. If you knit it tightly, it blocks the wind. So it's great insulation properties. And you're right, compared to a lot of the big woven winter jackets we wear,
And you guys understand that when you have weight on your body carrying it, it adds, something that's X amount of pounds feels worse when you're climbing uphill in altitude. And that becomes your background and your passion for the outdoors, correct?
That's exactly it.
Yeah. All right, moving into next level fabric technology and product design. In 2017, you brought Michael on board to achieve that next evolution. What was that like? Where did the decision come from?
So I met Michael in 2008 at a trade show. And he walked into the booth, and I was showing some dragon fur at the time. And introduced himself and said hello, and we chatted for a little while. And he was making and selling nothing that could help me. But he when we finished the conversation, he just said to me, he said, I really like what you're doing. If I can ever help you in any way, let me know. And fast forward to 2010, he went to work for a new fabric company, and they were doing primarily outdoor knits, so fleece and base layers and things like that. And he was brought in to lead up the FR division to kind of start creating industrial flame-resistant fabrics. And he remembered me and remembered the fleece jacket, and gave me a call and said, "Hey, would you give me a shot to do some work together?" And that relationship turned out to be fantastic because basically Alyx and I were able to take everything out of our outdoor wardrobe that we love to hike and ski and run in, and say, Michael, can you make this flame resistant? And we spent the next 7 years working with him, developing a whole layering system, and created some really amazing fabrics together. And then 2017, the company had started going through some changes, and Michael and I become really tight and really enjoyed working together. And we were fortunate enough to be in a position where I could afford to hire him and bring him on board. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, and now Michael's our director of innovation and leads all of our fabric development. So some of the other things like you're talking about, Pro Dry Tech, would not be possible without having somebody like him on the team.
Alex, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, just what Steve was saying. We developed a great relationship with Michael over the years, and the collaboration was always really strong. And again, it's that personality piece. Michael's just the right person for our culture, fits in seamlessly, and so it's not just that he's got this great technical skills, but he's just a great person.
Yeah, that's good. How do you feel as a founder too? I think like the brand identity almost kind of changed, and here you are creating new things, new problem solving with the Project Tech as far as the safety and just innovative product, and that being kind of almost what I would consider maybe the face of the brand. You could stop me if I'm wrong, but how do you feel with that?
The Pro Dry Tech is definitely our leading product right now. It's filled a niche in the market, and I'd actually turn this over to Steve because he worked a lot more on this with Michael than I did.
Yeah, excuse me. I mean, Pro Dry Tech definitely filled a niche in the market, and we kind of beat the trend in terms of sun hoodies and super lightweight protection. But that's what we've always tried to do. Back when Alyx originally patented this pack, it's always been about trying to understand what the end user, the customer needs, the problem they're having, and try to solve it. And that's super fun for us. So really, when I think about our company and our brand, we do packs and bags, we do clothing. I'm up for making just about anything. If it really solves a customer problem that we can add some value and protect people and make their job easier, that can be part of it. So
Cool. I'm gonna make a smooth segue right now. Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say what Steve was just saying about tackling new problems. My wife told me how concerned she was about the smoke that wildland firefighters are breathing, and challenged me to come up with a solution to protect them. And so I took a deep dive into powered, charcoal filtered breathing systems for wildland firefighters. I mean, this is nothing I'd ever tackled before, but I'm always game for doing the learning, reaching out to experts, and actually did come up with a great design. We haven't commercialized it yet, but yeah, I'm not probably going to try to build an airplane, but I'm
No, that's smart, but that's cool. I think the moral story is that humility to listen to the end user and adaptability to find that solution to help solve a problem in industries that you're open to work with. I think that's great. Speaking of adaptability, we all faced as a society earlier in 2020 COVID, and you guys are obviously, your power comes through that relationship with the end user. And then COVID, we saw some challenges. How did you guys kind of operate with that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, COVID was really tough. And, like most businesses, we saw the business just drop all of a sudden. But then right away, we recognized like our customers are going to keep working, and they need to be protected. And we were super fortunate that we actually just developed the Pro Dry Tech fabric. The fabric was actually on the table and going to be made into T-shirts. And we went, wait a minute, we can make face protection out of this fabric. And we designed the product, and I think in 3 days worked with the factory to start making prototypes. And within, I think 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, we had product that we could put on people so they could continue doing their job safely. And that period really, to me, was amazing in terms of really understanding what we've been creating and the relationships that we had with a lot of our suppliers and customers. Because during that time frame, we're all trying to figure out how to survive, and we had these great relationships where we were trying to do some things to serve the end users' needs. Our suppliers had real challenges keeping their folks employed, and we did a lot of conversations between owners and to try to figure out how we keep each other healthy, and business-wise healthy, and also keep the workers healthy. So it was a really challenging but really kind of exciting time, and really saw the quality of the supplier customer relationships that we've built over time.
Yeah, it was such an interesting time. I think a lot now we can able to reflect back and listen and look back at what we were forced to do. As far as that, I'm talking about, we kind of operated in pods. We stayed in our crews. Our safety meetings were done virtually, and you just have to adapt to that. From you go from an in-person safety meeting to something that's done via Teams or Zoom, and it's just kind of adapting. Is there anything that you guys kind of learn as a business that you kind of implement now, maybe, or that you can kind of foresee as being of value? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the remote hybrid piece definitely changed a lot of things, because we were used to being all in the same room together every day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also gave us a lot of flexibility and some new skills, and we've been able to hire people from different parts of the country now, which actually makes us stronger. And I think, like I said, there's still a lot of relationships that got built during that time, a lot of problem solving that really worked out for us.
Absolutely cool. Now let's fast forward to this new building. This is brand new, comes with some growth opportunities and some new possibilities. But what was this move like for you guys?
Painful,
to say the least. It's very cool. I think it fits on brand. I love it, man. It's super awesome.
Yeah, we actually purchased our first building just before we purchased it and remodeled it and started moving into the building just before the pandemic hit. And during those 3 main years of the pandemic, we continued to grow the company to the point where we actually outgrew the building before we had fully used it. And I was looking for another larger building to house the company, and came across this building. Just happened to be right place, right time. And we purchased it and then spent another year remodeling it, because we had to transition the usage from, it had been all office, to being able to have the warehouse and also the production side. But it's an amazing building. We feel incredibly fortunate, and hopefully it'll last more than 3 years.
There you go. Alyx, I just want to ask too, what do you think? Is there any moments you're taking back of starting in the carriage house? Imagine it's just one little light kind of shift over your shoulder, just kind of engulfed in some products and just kind of a mad scientist approach. Now you're in this beautiful building with a great team behind your brand. Are you ever just kind of taken back and pinching yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I feel incredibly fortunate to have been able to grow the company and to find the success that we have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the part of what keeps me going is being able to work with all of these great people. I love the team that we have, the culture that we've built, and I just want to keep doing it.
Steve, you want to
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. We laugh about kind of the old buildings and the different places we were in. And every time we kind of reach another place, I pinch myself with the quality and caliber of people we can now employ too. I think that's part of what drives us both. Is like we get to work and build this amazing team of people that just have all of these really cool talents. I mean, when we started, it was Alyx and I doing everything. And we were good at some things and not really good at other things. And now to be able to create a company where you can hire people that are just the best at product design or the best at marketing or something is really fun and inspiring to collaborate with people like that.
Absolutely. I wonder how much you think that the story and the brand of True North and DragonWear would have changed if this was day one, if this is what it looked like day one.
Yeah, that it's pretty hard to say, but starting small and scrappy creates a set of values, whereas if someone gives you $1 million and puts you in a beautiful building, it definitely changes how you think about things, I guess. I think it would be very different.
Yeah, it would be so different for me. I mean, I think about the days where, we weren't sure if we could make payroll, or we asked employees like, hey, can you just not deposit your check until next Tuesday, right? Those are really, really hard times. And, but it kind of builds that resilience, builds that appreciation, really. So, and I think we still remember those times. And so when we think about building the future, again, it's how do we do this sustainably? If we're gonna build this great community of people and serve a great community, how do we make sure that we're here for a very long time? So how do we manage that?
I think it's a common pattern. We had Ken and Brian Wheeler on yesterday on the podcast, and they share a common trait, and that's that chip on the shoulder and that grit and resiliency. And in hearing your guys' story, I can't help but tie the two together as well as, again, that you still, like, I think the end goal is great, but that starting, the beginning, the humble beginnings of in the carriage house, and then the Steve walking up to the abandoned warehouse, like that initial response, and then be able to look back and still have that homegrown feeling here at the new place is awesome. So, and you guys being outdoorsmen, I know you have a passion for outdoors. How's DragonWear and True North still upholding your end of the bargain of being, I guess, environmental friendly or health conscious? All right, yeah, there you go.
Through giving back to the community, Steve was the one that brought forth the idea of 1% for the planet, joining that initiative. And I'll let him speak to that because that was his initiative.
Yeah, I mean, we love the outdoors. You've been around here now. It's a beautiful place, and we value clean air and clean water and all those things. And yeah, for me, it was business has always been an opportunity to serve a community. So yeah, 1% for the planet was definitely the piece of, hey, we're going to give 1% of everything we sell to do good work. And then the reality is, being a manufacturer, most of our fabrics are man-made materials. We use a lot of water, chemicals, et cetera. So obviously we're going to have some type of damage to the environment. So how do we minimize that? So 1% for the planet was a great way to kind of get started. And then the piece that was really important to me was really understanding how could we have less impact on the environment. So back in 2022, we found a group called Climate Neutral that gave us a tool to help us really understand the impact we're having as a manufacturer and kind of set a baseline, and then helped us create some initiatives to try to kind of reduce our carbon emissions and our footprint every year. And it's been really helpful. This is the third year we've been certified. We've reduced our footprint by 40% in 3 years by just being aware of it. So it feels really good to be able to make those improvements as well.
Is that awareness always going to be part of the brand, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's who we are, and this was just a vehicle to help us better understand it. Because if you can't measure it, how do you know if you're getting better, right? So it was really fantastic to have a group that build something that a smaller business like us could actually implement something like that and get better. So
cool, absolutely, perfect. I kind of want to shift. You want to add anything else? No, you good? I kind of want to talk about your passion, your purpose. Steve, we kind of shift to you. You have a pretty unique hobby, so to speak. I just want to know how that fuels you professionally.
Yeah, I like to run really far.
Oh, a couple miles, huh?
In the mountains, yeah. I've definitely got I'll call it a healthy addiction with trail running. So yeah, I do a lot of ultra distance up in the mountains, I'll spend 10, 12, 15 hours out in the mountains. It's just
Driving around.
by foot all year round. But it's like I said, I love being out in the mountains. And then I started running. I think when I was around 40 years old, and then kind of combined my hiking and backpacking into just running in the mountains. And so whenever I have a free moment, it's just what I love to do. But it really translates to me over to DragonWear, because when you spend 10, 12, 14 hours wearing something, every little seam that could chafe you, every little tag that could annoy you, managing kind of your body temperature in all different climates, et cetera, becomes really, really important.
And it's the small things, right, too. I remember having been issued a cheap pair of safety glasses, and it would just rub the top of my ear raw. And yeah, when you try it on, it feels good. It's great. It's nice. And when you're getting your onboarding paperwork and you're good to go, you meet the specification of ANSI. But then 10, 12 hours into the day, your ear's raw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't know that until you put it in that product. So you're kind of a product tester yourself.
Oh yeah, I wear DragonWear all the time. That's a lot of our field testing. With our designer as well, as he's also got the same addiction I do. So we spend a lot of time in the mountains together and put on a lot of the prototypes and see how they work. How fast do these fabrics dry? Do they really move the moisture to the outside? Do we have the seams in the right place? Can we move in them? So. And again, our customers, wildland firefighters and utility workers, when you work in those storms, you're going to find all the flaws in our garment design as well. So we really try to.
No, and you put you nailed you hit the hammer with the nail. Wait, did I get that right?
Yeah, hammer nail. Yeah,
hammer nail. Okay, good. You hit it good because obviously you're not field testing as a utility worker or a firefighter, but the need was to design a product that you can wear all day, that you can move in, that's breathable, and you're putting it through that, because I think Gen 1 of the FR clothing for utility line workers was very different. It was very restricted, and there wasn't a lot of breathability. I think that was aiding to a lot of heat illness, kind of getting your core temperature up in the summer, and then not be able to regulate the temperature in the winter. So I think that's awesome, yeah. Big statement to who you are. And Alyx, you're going to be the creative genius. How are you staying fueled? I know at dinner we talked about you kind of have a sailboat passion, but I think you have other passions you're doing, and I think that kind of keeps that creative edge, and I kind of relate to you being a creative mind, so I think that's kind of cool.
Well, my background, what I studied in college was actually film, theater, music, and audio engineering. So you can see how I got into backpacks and clothing. It was pretty much foretold. And where I am now in the trajectory of the company and being able to step away from the day-to-day operations more, I'm getting back into creating music and writing.
How do you tie that back into professionally, and how you can bring feedback and value to the team?
Well, I'd say I have always been part of the marketing, branding, and continuing to bring that. But I don't think there's a one-to-one that what I'm doing creatively is directly transferable to what's happening at the company. It's more that it rejuvenates me on a creative level and keeps that creative energy flowing. And being able to follow my passion, then coming into work, I use that joy and passion that I'm getting from the creative, as well as my outdoor pursuits, which are really important to me. It fuels what I do here in the office.
Absolutely. And last night at dinner, Jackie was laughing at me because I told her I took up golf, and I was the last person who I thought would have taken up golf. But it's so counterintuitive, and it's such a hard sport to be good at that I'm just obsessed with it now, that I want to feel good. And to your point, it's like it doesn't really transfer to the work I do, but I think those disciplines and those habits of golf have allowed me to refocus professionally and apply myself. And to me, I think that's a value, a one-to-one value for what I can feel. So I think it's cool. So
Yeah.
And I think it creates some real white space too. I mean, some of my team members definitely dread when they know when I come back from a run in the morning because I'll have a whole bunch of new ideas. But I think having that passion on the side really does give you that space just to.
And are you intentionally going out on that run trying to think about work, or is it just kind of organically
It just organically happens, and I think that's what it is. I think when you have something that outside of work that you're really passionate about, it just kind of creates that free space to just reflect and think on things. And it seems like creative ideas come to me for me, it's when I'm moving and outdoors. Right?
And isn't that counterintuitive? Because you think to solve problems at work, you should be at work, you should be in that. But as soon as you step away and find that the inner peace, or however you want to word it, like now you're really seeing a very organic, grassroots kind of problem solving, and that we can all kind of relate to and see some success in. So
absolutely,
it's like golf. The less you think about your swing, the better it's going to be.
Absolutely. And then I go down YouTube and listen to every instructor. So
and then you're all messed up.
Yes. Then it's day one. Anyways, I digress. I kind of went back to the team mentality for you guys. How do you keep everyone connected in the company's mission and values? I know it's something you guys are passionate about.
I think it goes back to who we hire to start. And then we have as we've grown, we still have a all company call every Monday morning where we all just get together and share what's going on and talk about things. We tell jokes, whatever it is. A lot of it's just connection. I think is really what it is just continuing to talk about who we are and where we're trying to go and why that. It's a lot of just the why. Why is it important? Why are we trying to do what we're doing? And having it be more than financial dollars and cents. I think that's the other piece is when you tie into like, hey, who are the customers that we're serving, and what is the good we're doing through 1% for the Planet and other initiatives, and giving back to different charitable events within the industry. I think that's what creates the meaning. And again, when I went back to thinking about our team, people that value those things are people that tend to be really happy and stick around here. So
absolutely, and I wanted to bring this next question into addressing the fact that you've always been hands-on, very, very humble, Steve, and always you were involved with the podcast, just kind of setting it up and doing a thing. And then Steve called Alyx to kind of bring in the AC, and you jumped at it, and here we are. You guys could easily delegate. You have a great team that's always forthright and jumping at the opportunity to help, but you guys just kind of roll your sleeves up and stay grassroots and are able to help. But I wanted to get your take on an approach to leadership. Is there a philosophy or a quote that you guys kind of use to use as your true north, so to speak?
I sort of go back to that: treat people like adults and they'll act like adults. But also that what I tell people in the company is, you look at a sort of the organizational chart of a company, and being CEO, I'm at the very top of the organizational chart. But the way I look at it is, I am here to work for you. My job is to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful. And so, don't hesitate to tell me if there's some resource, some tool, some extra time, whatever it is that you need. My job is to provide that for you. I'm here to work for you. You don't work for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just been it is just trying to lead by example.
Exactly.
Walk the talk, and if hopefully if people see that that's important to Alyx and I, and we're right in the trench with them, we're doing the work side by side with them, that again that'll inspire them to do the same for their colleagues and customers. So
I tell you what inspires me. Like every time I see that leadership example, it's always like, okay, this is the why. This helps refocus my why. And you want to do better as as a facilitator, or and I speak for myself. Like I always want to do better, and then anyone that I have the opportunity to work with, how am I serving them, and how can I better serve them, and then make sure they achieve their goals. So I think what you guys do is pretty awesome, and the way you do is awesome. So
we'll have times when it's like all hands on deck, like when we're unloading a container and we don't have enough people in the warehouse that day. And people leave their desk in the office and come down and help unload that container and stack the boxes. Or there were times when we needed to get a bunch of product QC'd. And so everybody gathered around the conference table and grabbed a pair of scissors and were snipping threads. And Steve and I are sitting right there with them. And it was, we're telling stories and working together. And that's what builds that camaraderie and sense of family, and it's great.
Yeah, and you guys are good feedback for food and spirits too.
That's right. We work hard, play hard.
All right. End user, the customer is always going to give you guys some feedback. How do you gather that feedback? How do you utilize it? What's the goal there?
I mean, the goal first is to build the trust with the customer, that they're comfortable being candid with us and telling us, like, this doesn't work for me or this caused this problem. But it's being really proactive and like Alyx was saying, really asking the question of what's working and not working. And we design based on problems, so we're always just kind of out there trying to poke around to find out a problem that somebody's having. And usually, if you're having a problem, probably somebody else is as well. And that's what drives everything we develop. Well, we don't just design in a box.
Sure.
Steve, you should share the story of how we came up with the hoodie.
Yeah, I mean, we came up with the Pro Dry Tech fabric, but it was, what are we going to do with it? What's the appropriate thing? And we were at the International Lineman's Rodeo in 2019, and met a lineman who had cancer on the back of his neck, and had to have some treatment for that. And he had an example of a polyester sun hoodie that he used for fishing, and said, hey, something like this would protect me. I've tried these other things, but this lightweight sun hoodie, might solve the problem. And yes, that's really where this came from. It came from a lineman that had a really specific issue, and we recognized, like, yeah, you're onto something, and this could, protect a lot of people. So
that's great. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's that feedback. I'll ask a challenging question. How do you deal with that negative feedback? What if a product with a seam that didn't get stitched the whole way, and that customer got a negative feeling towards you? How do you guys deal with that?
Well, that's their problem.
There you go.
I mean, as I said, that's what we want to hear. Alyx said it earlier. Like, we want to hear what's not working, right? So if something fails, it's like, great, please tell me what was going on. Did it just come bad, or were you doing something where it wore out, or is it in the wrong place? Yeah. So I think it's just the way we've approached things. Is we learn from our mistakes, and we value that feedback. So it's I don't have my ego wrapped around this, and everybody loving this garment. Like, it's not for everybody. And if there is something wrong with it, please tell me, because that's the only way we can try to improve and make it more comfortable and better for you.
Absolutely.
And continuous product improvement is really baked into who we are, our DNA. And if it's, we've had a basic warranty that says if there's a problem because of the material or the stitching, no question, we're going to replace that for you, 100%. Things wear out, so that just happens. But if we didn't make it right, then we will make it right.
And that's 100% true. And I always said, a lineman's always going to give that critical feedback. And most of the time, when a lineman gets a hold of a product, you only get one shot to make that first initial impression. And if it's good, they'll probably be a customer for life. And if it's bad, you probably won't get another shot. So I think that value in that first conception, or how you problem solve, like you said, hey, there's something slipped through the cracks, let's make it right. And let's regain your trust, and let's let you know that we're going to put you in a product that's safe, and that we put and the teams put a lot of effort into getting this right.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to get a call from an angry customer.
Sure.
But an angry customer is actually a gift, because they actually care. And that's one of the things I've found over time is I'll be talking to the person. I'm like, my gosh, like, they really love DragonWear and want this to be better, right? And some of them turn into our best field testers, right? It's really, if somebody's indifferent, that's actually more concerning to me. But somebody that's upset, it's like, hey, they care and they want to give me feedback. So embrace it and learn from it.
Absolutely. Steve, you shared a memorable story through the ILR and the lineman giving you feedback for the hoodie. Mm-hmm. Is there any other memorable stories that kind of fuel you guys and you kind of value as a company? because you're dealing with wild land, you're dealing with utility workers. This is an inherently dangerous job in both professions, and I'm sure there's some stories where it impacted. And
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten calls from linemen that were caught in an arc flash situation, and fortunately, all of them were fine, and they were calling to thank us, and they sent us garments back, and that was super powerful to be able to one, know that it protected them, and then two, when you're talking about kind of helping our team feel engaged too, is to be able to take that garment and show people like this is what actually happens, and imagine what would have happened to this person if they weren't wearing this or we didn't make a quality product. So
absolutely. Alyx, anything to add as far as that? How that impacts you, just hearing those true field tested statements in an actual event?
Oh yeah, it's hugely impactful, and part of my motivation, part of what I love about what we do is that we help protect people's lives, and that's hugely meaningful to me. And that's something that I take very seriously and is deeply meaningful to me.
Absolutely. Kind of shift. I think as founder, president, you guys are responsible for that vision of the company and to keep that the course of the company. What can you talk about the vision and how you guys plan to stay relevant as a company?
Well, I think it's just staying true to our core values and innovating, listening to the customer, and part of what's been a guiding philosophy for us is just organic growth. We're not trying to conquer the world and triple our size overnight or something like that, like some of these tech companies. Just slow, measured growth that's sustainable, that allows us to continue to serve the customer and also to provide for the employees of the company, that they know we're going to be here for them in the future. They have a home, and there's a number of our employees have told me, they're like, we hope to be able to retire from True North. This is where we want to be.
That's awesome. That's probably a true statement of who you guys are and what that looks like. That's probably one of the best compliments you can get.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can talk about what True North and DragonWear is going to look like in the next 5-10 years?
I don't know that it's going to look that much different. I mean, there will be, hopefully there will be more people, because we love building the team, and the again, kind of that motivation for me to grow is, we can offer more services to the community and continue to develop better products. And I really think about the people of True North. As we grow the team, we have more redundancy, et cetera. So there's more time for that work-life balance. And that's, when I really think about what motivates me every day, I feel super grateful that I get to do work I love, with people I love, and serve a community to make it better, and provide for people so they can take care of their families and have time off to do the things that they love, their other interests. Right? And so when I think about the future, it's like, just continue to offer as much value as possible to our customers. They want to continue buying our products, and then reinvest that money to build our team and provide a great place to work. I think when I think about you have 168 hours in a week. I sleep like a third of them, and then the other half I'm working. Right,
running.
Yeah, then I'm running, and then I'm working. That's it, right? But when you're spending that much time with people, one, it's amazing to work with people that I love working with and I care for, and it's also really rewarding to be able to provide for them to pursue the things that they love to do. Whatever their running is, I want to make sure that they have the time and the resources to do that with their friends and family.
Absolutely.
And I also recognize that our success doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's because of the larger community around us, and not just the customers that we serve, but the city of Seattle, the state of Washington, the United States, however far out you want to expand that. And part of my long-term mission with the company is the growth will provide the profits that we can continue to donate to organizations that are working to make our collective world a better place.
Absolutely. Well said. Gonna kind of want to wrap things up here, but I wanted to express my gratitude for allowing me the opportunity to come in, bring what we're trying to do with the podcast and seeing that vision and supporting it, and just inviting me out to your beautiful headquarters. So I thank you. I know there's challenges in being the first or just kind of the innovative in this kind of space, but I think it's great, and I always love the collaboration. So, and I had a great time at dinner last night, so it's been amazing.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Thanks for coming and visiting us. Really appreciate it.
And you've been my Seattle tour guides. I've never been here, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of take in, and I'm glad the weather's been nice. So,
Absolutely.
Come back often.
appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you want to add before we kind of wrap things up? Is there anything where people can find you, reach out to you, or is there anything of value you wanted to share that we didn't cover?
Nothing's popping to mind. Yeah, DragonWear.com is where to find us, and
right.
and I'm just super grateful for the community. It's been a really fun journey and ride. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing, and just appreciate the community and what Alyx and I said about giving us feedback. That's the most valuable thing you can. That's a gift to us. If something isn't working, if you could share that with us, please reach out. So I love talking to customers.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I want to thank the DragonWear team, marketing team. Been great to work with. You want to cue the music there, Andrew? There we go. Bam. All right. Thanks for the tour. Appreciate it. DragonWear.com. Thank you for all your hard work. Quick ad read. New from DragonWear, our Pro Dry Tech collection now includes the Cat 2 High Vis yellow shirt and long sleeve. Same features, new color. Power Element listeners, today is the last day to go and get 20% off with code DWX Power Element Pod 20. Once again, DWX Power Element Pod 20. I'll put that in the show notes at DragonWear.com. DragonWear.com. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you.